Ladies and gentlemen, Jedis, Padawans, Sith Lords, Senators, and everyone in between, welcome to Use the Force to Supercharge Your Career Search. So excited to be joined here today by the one and only Christina Marie and our friend Donna Shannon. I'm going to be doing the least talking that you'll ever see me do on a call, and I'm really excited about that because I get to play host a little bit in the background. I'm just going to hand it over to this perfectly Jedi-colored and Sith-colored duo over here. Christina, can I throw it to you first?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Christina Marie Drake, recruiter now for just under a decade, and most recently at Naughty Dog. And I'm really excited to be joined today by Donna Shannon. So for those of you who haven't heard of Donna, Donna is an incredible career coach. One of the things that I think is pretty interesting is our origin story. Donna, I consider to be my Sith Lord master. Without Donna, I would not have ever become a recruiter. I wouldn't have my job. And I definitely wouldn't be as prolific or popular for what I do at all without Donna's guidance. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we met. We met at a conference almost a decade ago now, back in 2015. And power of networking, I was completely just enamored with everything Donna had to say and the way Donna presented things. And so I invited Donna on a date. I said, hey, before we catch our flights, do you want to go over to Disney World and have dinner at Epcot? And Donna was like, what? And I was like, at the time, I was like, I have perks. I can get us into the parks. Let's go. And we went and we had dinner at Mexico, the Mexico Pavilion. And Epcot, we just chatted. And through that, we just kind of stayed in touch pretty casually until my first layoff. And when I first got laid off in 2015, the first thing I did was call Donna and go, oh my gosh, my life is over. I don't know what to do. This would have never happened to me. What's next? And Donna immediately just put me in touch with all of her amazing resources. And then through that, I started my role in recruiting and was super inspired and became the Kylo Ren of recruiting that I am today. I don't pick a side. I'm a switch, like a little bit of good, a little bit of Sith, just wherever the wind takes me. So Donna, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of what you do, what makes you unique? Because everybody can have the same experience, or at least a little one that I have.
Sure. And you don't even have to take me to Disney to get some of my advice. Just say it. Because we all know who the Emperor actually is. It is Mickey Mouse. Yes. But anyways, my name is Donna Shannon, and I am a professional career coach. So I help people with all the practical tools for their job search. We do resume writing, LinkedIn profiles, cover letters, and then the coaching side of things is, again, all those things to help you get ahead in those strategies, how to track down recruiters, dealing with hiring managers, how to network, interview skills, salary negotiations, all of those things to help you get a job faster and at a higher pay. So my origin story of how I got into these things is my own background is in human resources and recruiting. And back in 2004 is when I kind of turned from the dark side, because I was honestly sick and tired of having to cut qualified applicants who just didn't understand how the process worked. So I started teaching job searching courses then, and I continued to do my business part-time on the side for many years. But in 2011, I stepped off the corporate cliff, so to speak. I've been doing my company full-time ever since then. It's called the Personal Touch Career Services. And we have 5 staff coaches and writers underneath me. So, I guess those are my apprentices. As Sith, is it really a Padawan? I don't think so. And usually there is only 2, the apprentice and the master, but sure. I broke the rules because that's what Sith do.
Right. 0% surprised by that. And that's why I can't be a true Jedi. I tell my husband, I'm like, I feel like I really would have like a purple lightsaber. And then he's like, I think you're just Kylo Ren. And I was like, I really do think I'm just Kylo Ren. So that's definitely, I think, for those of you who are joining us, I mean, Donna is genuinely incredible at some of the things that we've talked about today. A lot of the career advice that I give, honestly, came from advice that I received, 10 years ago now. And it's still relevant. So yeah, a lot of it really is still relevant. So things like how to stand out, how to network, Yes, I agree. Probably taking somebody to Disneyland on a first date is probably not the most common way to network.
Shoot
But
your
anyway,
shot.
not for a business first date. Let's be clear about that. All right.
Christina,
okay,
not
sure.
all.
Business first date.
Sometimes
It
you
was
shoot
a
your shot.
business
You make it
date.
happen. So good.
You know, yeah, I mean, just how do you stay memorable? Go to design. But honestly, there are other ways that you can start to network, especially as we look at networking kind of in a post-COVID world. So Donna, how has networking changed or not, right? Kind of looking at like what people can do post-COVID now that we've seen kind of an uprise in like the LinkedIn space for networking.
Donna,
You know,
as
I have
you pull
been-
your lightsaber out, do you mind if I throw in one quick piece of housekeeping?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, John.
We have an especially engaged chat, and so ordinarily we might not need to do this, but we have comments coming in hot and heavy. So I just wanted to demonstrate for everybody kind of what that might look like, and to make sure that when this happens, it doesn't kind of feel odd. Because as they come in, I'd love to just bring comments up on screen, like our friend Juan de la Cruz here, just saying hello. Of course, Ashley Phipps also saying hi, and Wendy saying, may the force be with you all. Now, in addition to really kind welcome greetings that we're coming in here and seeing, we're also starting to see questions starting to come through here already. And you know what? I tell you what, let's take a quick poll here. We have two options. One, I can kind of moderate and bring comments up on screen, or we can have a chat overlay that looks like this. And then we can just sort of see it as we go. What do we think?
I mean, I'm open to whatever.
Either way. Yeah.
Let's leave chat as we go. We might see some interesting things, just to put that out there, and that's okay, because we have an awesome engaged community with all kinds of cool things to say, and sometimes those are interesting things. So with that, please, over to you, Donna, with being memorable and how networking works in this post-COVID crazy world.
Yep.
So I have actually been on LinkedIn since 2007. So that is definitely one of the biggest things that I master. If you see the NCOPE certification behind my name, that's a nationally certified online profile expert. So that is a LinkedIn specific certification. And it's important to understand how LinkedIn works, not just for networking, but also for job seeking, because part of LinkedIn is being found as well as outreach to other people. And I love LinkedIn. I love the way it's developed. And where most people fail in LinkedIn is that they're spending all their time just looking for jobs. I always point out 45% of your time on LinkedIn needs to be devoted to networking, and only 25% of your time needs to be looking for jobs. So networking includes everything from direct outreach to people, getting engaged with one of the great tips I learned this year, and well, I knew it, but to even greater apply it, is like the people that you follow. So if you're trying to make inroads with a company or with a specific hiring manager or a creator that you follow, be sure to engage with their posts. And if you can do it shortly after they post it, because of the algorithms, you know, the more active a post is in the first hour or two once it posts, that's when it gets pumped out to that, you know, influencers' rest of the feed. So you can start making headways with these people that seem really hard to reach if you're paying attention to when their posts are coming out, because they're more likely to reply back to you when it's in that first hour or two, because they're trying to boost their engagement. So that's
absolutely.
like a really
Absolutely. As somebody who puts out regular content, I agree with that. I also think it's important to note too, I can tell you, and I tell this to people when they meet with me one-on-one, I can tell you who the top 10 or so people that engage with my content are. So when I have a role open, I know who the first programmer is, right? I know who the first product manager is that I can think of. I know who the first environment artist is that's engaged with my content. And that person for me is always top of mind. So when I have a role that's open, I'm immediately thinking about, oh, you know what? John is always engaging with my content. I know that John is a great HR professional. If I have an HR role or a people and culture role, I'm going to go to John and be like, hey, John, what do you think about this? Are you open to chatting? Because they're always top of mind and they're always engaging with me. So absolutely, the more you engage with content, I think the better. People always ask Donna, like, do I have to create content like you do? And I tell them, no, like, you don't have to be a long form content creator like I am. You don't have to be doing these talks, but by just engaging with the community that I'm cultivating or that other people are cultivating, you are a part of that. And again, like, you're making yourself more memorable to me. And then I'm more inclined to open your InMail, right, when you shoot me a message. So do you want to talk a little bit about what InMail, some of the hurdles around InMail is?
Yeah, so the thing with InMail, and for people who don't know, the InMail is one of the premium benefits, and you're only limited to so many InMails you can do a month, depending on whatever your level you're coming in at. That's why I prefer like organic interaction with someone. InMails can be great, but you have to be careful on what you're saying in those, because if it comes across as spam or is not about them, or it's not engaging, like say, for example, you see a job and you're really interested in it. Number one, don't waste your InMails on the recruiters. They already got your stuff. Okay. They're usually not going to be replying to you. No offense, Christina might, because she's awesome, but you know, in general, like especially an HR person inside a company, not so much. They're like behind the brick walls in the Senate. They're not going to talk to you, right? You got to infiltrate the Death Star, I guess. So sure, it's a lot more effective to go and actually send connection requests to the person that you're following, but also make a look and see, are they even active on LinkedIn? Because like if they have no activity, the profile's not complete, all the rest of this, I have so many people go, I reached out and they didn't say anything. I go, well, they haven't posted anything in 6 months.
Yep.
They're not active. You're screaming into the wind. Of course they're not getting it.
That's absolutely something people ask me all the time. They said, oh, this so-and-so that this company is always ghosting me. And I said, well, so-and-so at that company has not used their LinkedIn since they updated it when they joined this job 3 years ago. So I don't think they're ghosting you. I think they're just not on LinkedIn as a social platform. I think they are here to update their profile and move on. So I definitely agree that being able to, again, create those organic connections and have those conversations makes for a better experience. And again, the pathway in which you choose to engage with your companies or your job prospects does depend on who you reach out to.
A fun fact, if I can throw one in there too.
Please, John. Please.
I don't know if everybody knows this, but let's say I send a connection. Let's say Donna is a recruiter or a hiring manager, or is exactly who she is, which is somebody who I really want to get to know because she has some incredible things that could change my life. But I'm not connected to her on LinkedIn yet. In fact, she maybe doesn't even know who I am. When I send her a connection request and I add the note and I add some context and color instead of just some random, John Brando appearing on her connection request list, one of thousands for some of these folks. Whenever you see a recruiter share their screen on here, watch, you'll see like a million pending requests. Yeah. Instead, it comes with a note, and it's basically the length of a Twitter post. You get a very, very short set of characters you can use. That's a good thing. So you're not adding some crazy novel. Here's the thing. If I send that to Donna and it adds a quick note, I say, hey, Donna, so thank you so much for the value you created on the live today. You answered so many of my questions. Have a wonderful day. When I send that to her, when she hits accept, it also then comes through as a chat message. And so it creates the beginning of a conversation organically that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And it's a very potentially valuable, or just use with caution, but it could be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of, you mentioned Twitter, John. Donna, someone asked, what do you recommend in terms of cross-posting, or what other social media avenues are useful when job searching?
So, number one, don't feel like you have to be on every single platform if you're not already there. So if you're not real active on X, or you don't do Instagram, or, you just only use Facebook for, like cat videos and family parties and stuff like that, don't dive into doing something poorly just because you're trying to hit all the targets, right? So if we're going to go into the trench on the Death Star, that's a very small port you're trying to hit, and you have to be laser focused to get your message in there. So it's always better to do a perfect job on fewer things than a mediocre job on many things. And if we're looking at job searching, obviously, LinkedIn is going to be your #1 source, but also understand your market. So If you're also trying to get into gaming, or if you're trying to make headway into marketing, hells yeah, you need to be active on either Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Look at where your target companies are. Where
Absolutely.
are they promoting their content? And you get interactive there, because that's what the company's already telling you that they value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, I mean, our industry is unique in that so many of us are cultivating some of that here on LinkedIn, right? I mean, if you don't follow Amir already, Amir just recently posted that he's offering all of his content in addition to LinkedIn onto X, right? Because he's finding that that is where a lot of our game industry folks live. You've seen a bunch of different Discords pop up lately with all the layoffs of different people kind of getting together to share job resources or tips or tricks or open roles. And then you are seeing a lot of influencers kind of curating, or LinkedIn influencers, whatever we are. I like to say, like, I like to call us like leading voices. I don't like the word influencer. I don't want to influence you to do anything. But you'll see a lot of us leading voices really starting to curate lists on behalf, right? Alex Gombos is doing that. Eva does that. There's a couple others who really curate some lists for you to kind of help with that job searching aspect. Something I get asked a lot, Donna, is how do you stand out in this market? So what tips and tricks would you advise kind of on the top level of like how to stand out?
So there's a few different ways. And so do you want to talk about resumes and such first, or just the rest of the social media aspects?
Yeah, let's wrap out social media and then we can move on to resumes.
Okay. So another weird quirk about LinkedIn, when a recruiter sees your job application come through and they have like the job posted on LinkedIn, so they are gathering the applications there before maybe sending you to the next step. Weird thing. If you have a connection to anybody at the company, you actually rank higher in the list of candidates than somebody who has zero connections at the company. So even if you can't get like the recruiter to connect with you, or you can't get the hiring manager to, somebody in a similar role, or even somebody who's just like an administrative assistant or whatever, if you can get them to connect, you're going to rank higher in the actual applicant list. So there's that. The other thing is just make sure that you're posting intelligent content. And like Christina said, you don't have to write it yourself. You can always share other people's content and then make a comment about it. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Try to put questions in there to get people to engage with you. And then the last one that's my personal favorite, especially when diving into niche markets, is get involved in the groups on LinkedIn. Because I'm going to get technical here, because that's what I do. So your LinkedIn network includes not just your first degree connections, not just your second degrees, your friends of friends, not just your third degrees, friends of friends of friends. It also includes your group connections. So if you're trying to break into gaming, join a group of gamers. If you're trying to break into another market that we serve, which is luxury lifestyle management, go join the groups like Estate Jobs and things like that. Because all of a sudden now you're building a base of people in your subsequent networks, and it makes you easier to be found, and it makes your own searches more effective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I want to touch on that you said about resharing, this is something that I share, a statistic I share quite a bit, and people I think are surprised by that. So one of the things, going back to how LinkedIn pushes out content, when you reshare somebody's content, like let's say, Donna, John, I, whoever, create something you like and you reshare it, you don't have any commentary. LinkedIn doesn't credit you as an authentic author, but if you reshare it with a comment and you say, hey, today's live was really, really great, thought-provoking. I loved all the Jedi puns. I loved all the Star Wars puns. I would live on Coruscant, right? You put that commentary, all of a sudden LinkedIn views that as authentic authorship of that original post. So all the people who had liked, commented, reshared, whatever before you are now also going to see your content. So it's interesting that it deprioritizes just a generic reshare, and it up prioritizes reshares with, like you said, like intelligent commentary or some kind of engagement interaction. You're spending more time with the content, you're spending more time on the platform, and it shows that that content that you reshared, whatever it was, has some thought-provoking element to it that is pushing it out into the universe. And you're kind of being perpetuated and then getting LinkedIn's credit for that as a creator or an author. So pro tip there is always, if you can, reshare with commentary. Definitely a great tip there. So how do you stand out with your resume?
Okay. And just one note.
Yeah.
If it sounds like overwhelming on what we're suggesting to do on LinkedIn, set a goal for yourself to devote 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn. This doesn't have to be like constantly on there all the time. Just have like a few set things that you do every day, and it's 30 minutes outside of job searching. And you're going to see amazing results if you even do that just a couple of times a week. So there's that. Okay, let's talk about resumes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the dark side of resumes first.
I think we all know where this is going. All right, let's do it.
Oh, there's a couple of different ways we could go with this one, but let's talk first and foremost about, those ultimate Sith, the HR department, right? Because with resumes, that's the first thing you have to get through. And most people have heard of either the applicant tracking system, the ATS, the screening computers, or a lot of people are now like, AI are screening my resumes. It's like, well, they've been screening them for 20 years, but okay, I'm glad it's new for you. But it is getting more intelligent in the screening factor. But the core base of how it works is still the same stupidity. And this means your resume has to have 60 to 75% of the keywords from the job description in your resume in order to get to the computer to a point where a human being is going to read it. Notice I said keywords, not qualifications. So classic example of this, I like to point out you need both smart and stupid keywords. So a smart keyword is going to be anything related to your actual job. So in gaming, if you're like into the story development, it's content. Yeah, exactly. All those things. Stupid keywords being things like excellent communication skills and team player and detail oriented, right? All this stuff that we know is stupid and it doesn't mean all that much. But the trap is if it's in the job posting and it's not in your resume, the computers will kick you out and say you're not qualified. I just talked to somebody today who had their resume professionally written, and it was like, you have one of the stupidest keywords in here. I go, it is not stupid on you. This is stupid on the computer. Your degree is listed as a BS. But if the computer is looking for the word bachelor's degree, and nobody tells the computer that a BS is a bachelor's degree, it's going to kick you out and say that you don't have any education.
Yep. Absolutely.
BS indeed. BS
Absolutely. Indeed. So we've seen a lot of uptick on social media platforms like TikTok with these like hacks and tricks. And something that I get asked a lot is like, can I hide the keywords in white text somewhere on my page? How do I trick the system into getting me through? Like, I think they have this perception that like this robot is like doing all of the work. And at least for me and in most of the games companies I meet with between 40, at most 40, at the lightest week I've had now is 24 people per week, right? And I talk to tons of recruiters, and none of us in the game space have a dedicated AI that is solely doing this for us. Like none of us are doing that. I've heard of one company that isn't even a games company. They're a big tech company, and they have a fully dedicated AI pre-screen before you see a recruiter. So when thinking about like how to trick the AI systems or how to get past these screens, what are some like myths you've heard that can absolutely be debunked?
So the whole white thing, text, and then put it in the footer of your resume.
Yeah.
I hate to break you to you, that is not a new strategy. In 2004, when we started using Monster to screen our resumes for us, monster.com, in case you don't know what that is, we immediately saw IT people doing this thing with the white text, but it converts to regular text in our system. So we'd see these resumes with just chunks of words on the bottom, and it's like, what the heck? And it was invariably the IT people who were doing this because they're like, I know computer code. I can trick you. And this is exactly the reason why even today on a Word document, the resume screening process will strip out any content in the header and footer of your resume because it is designed to eliminate those tricks.
Yep.
So that doesn't work all that great. But what we do is I like having a skills section that's short, keyword optimized phrases. We usually put them in 3 columns so they're really easy to swap in and out on those stupid keywords. And then we also use tools like jobscan.co. Yes, I recommend JobScan. Don't rely on like ChatGPT to find your keywords. It's not, JobScan works exactly like an ATS. Yep. And it is also set to the stupidest setting, just saying. So, it'll say, oh, you have communication skills, but I wanted verbal communication skills. Okay. Most systems are not going to be that harsh, right? But
absolutely.
Yeah,
I will agree.
Easily swap in and out the terms that need to be adjusted.
Yeah, and I will agree. Like, one of the things that I think people don't realize is when you upload your resume, especially like, to Greenhouse or a system like Greenhouse, which is what we use at Sony, and a ton of the companies I'm talking to now utilize. When you do that, you're basically uploading your document, then it goes through a computer system that will, like Donna says, will parse it right into your application. Then it will pass it over to our systems. When that passover happens, a couple of things. One, if you have this very elaborate resume, the computer doesn't know how to read it. And when I see it, it's just a bunch of wingdings. It's like happy faces and spades and like empty boxes. And I don't have time as a recruiter to go back and search for you and say, oh, let me see your LinkedIn profile and maybe you're qualified. I'm looking at my numbers going, oh my gosh, I have one producer job and I have 6,000 applicants that I have to get through. I can't go back and search for this person. So I automatically reject those resumes. And the same thing when I see a resume comes through that has like weird spacing or intermittent blocks of text, and I'm like, okay, this is obviously you were trying to pre-fill. I'm like, okay, now I know that, you may or may not be qualified. You're spending more time trying to dupe our systems than really spending time on a cover letter, quality cover letter, or, making sure that you do fit these qualifications. So it's very interesting, I think, to see that too. So I definitely agree that like some of that happens. Do you want to talk a little about some of those creative resumes?
Yeah, so this will break the heart of all of our designers out there, or anybody who's starting to use Canva formats. All right, I'll put on my technical hat with Canvas. They look beautiful. They work with emailing to people. But the problem is why they will never translate properly into an online application is when you download from Canva, even if you save as a PDF, the underlying code for that is an image. So when the ATS takes a look at resumes and is trying to parse out information, what goes where into the application, if it doesn't see like clear headings or typical ways that like jobs initial stuff is called, it's the facts of the job, title, date, location, company, that kind of stuff. Those are the guides for the computer. It tells it where it is. But if everything is an image, I've even seen beautiful InDesign ones, same thing. The computer doesn't know what to do with it and they just error it out. And then people have to spend tons of time copying and pasting everything from the document into that actual application. So there's that. The other one is if you're working with Word and you've got like a beautiful design that's relying heavily on text boxes or the entire thing is formatted with tables. Again, the computer gets confused. And so we still do have some really nice designs. We use color, we use even shapes, but we also understand as resume writers what works in the applicant system and what is going to make it barf.
Yeah. And I think that's true, right? Like a lot of people say to me, like, how does it work? And I think you're dead on. The computer doesn't know. And so whenever we get those creative resumes, that's when the system can't read it when it uploads to my site. And that's when I get those weird wingdings. And I'm like, you must have had a really pretty resume.
Mhm.
You must have had a really pretty resume. I think there was a question there about the ATS system that someone had that I definitely wanted to touch on. Like I mentioned earlier, yeah, so it depends on the company, whether or not they're using a fully automated ATS or if they have AI input. The question basically was, a lot of recruiters say that the opposite, that they're reading every single resume. We have found in the game space, I have found throughout my network of games friends, a lot of our big game companies right now, yes, do not have a fully dedicated AI booting resumes. So at Naughty Dog, I reviewed 58,000 resumes in a single year.
Woof.
Because I did not have any ATS system that pre-ranked or gave me any kind of insight. So every resume that came via LinkedIn or came direct from our website came directly to me, to my inbox. I had access to it on the back end into our ATS system, our job system. And then I was the one reviewing every single one of those resumes. So again, in the game space, as far as all the recruiters I know from all the major companies that you're thinking about, they do not have any kind of automation built in currently to auto reject people. I have rejected people from high level jobs, HRBP level jobs, or high ops jobs, or creative artists. I had a senior character creature artist, and I had an application for someone who was a fry cook, and I was like, hey, I appreciate your commitment, but I don't think that this job that requires a dedicated experience of 10 years is right for you, who's looking for an entry level role, right? So yes, in the game space, we do find currently, at least again, the majority of recruiters I talk to, we aren't, and none of us are, we are actually reviewing them. Me, a coordinator, an associate recruiter, we are doing those. Yes, 58,000 in a single year. A lot of resumes. I reviewed a lot of resumes. But I do know, again, like I have been in these talks, I have found some companies that are using them, and some of them are using them entirely. Like I said, this big tech company that I was meeting with somebody who'd been laid off from, they laid off their entire recruiting department. And they are solely relying on AI, and they are now slowly having to rehire recruiters because the AI, like Donna mentioned, it can't do every single aspect. It can do some of that preliminary work, but it misses things, like you mentioned, like with bachelor's versus BS on a resume, or the difference between verbal communication and communication skills, right? So AI, while a great tool, isn't perfect. And I think right now, again, for the primary aspect, recruiters are, at least in the game space, we are still doing a bulk of the review online. However, we do have an ATS that will upload your resume. So your format is really, really important. Like I said, I can always tell when somebody had a beautiful resume and it didn't port over to my side correctly. So, yeah.
Yeah. Another sad thing just to think about. So the Wall Street Journal did the article about it. It was actually a study from Harvard Business, and they posted in the Harvard Business Journal first. They did a study of companies that were using the ATS system, and they were surveying not only were they using that, and they were talking to like the CEOs, the C-suite people, talked to about 700 different companies, including most of the Fortune 500 companies. 93% of those executives knew for a fact that their ATS system was disqualifying people who were actually qualified for the job. And yet they had no better solution but to use it because of the volume of applicants that they get.
And I think especially right now with all the layoffs, I mean, we've seen that tenfold. I give this example quite a bit is, at Naughty Dog, when I would hire a producer, I hired a lot of production. I tripled our production team at Naughty Dog. When I hired producers at Naughty Dog, I was surprised because when I would open a job, I would have between 300 and 600 applications by end of day. By the time, layoffs got ready to come around, I'd open a job. And that day I told our production director, we have to close this job. And he said, I just opened it today. I said, I know, but I have 2,000 applications in an 8-hour day. There's no way that I can fairly adequately assess 2,000 people if it keeps going at this rate. I can't adequately assess them. And so by the time we closed the job, we had around, I think, 3,000 or 4,000. And of course, in that first few hundred, we had found our top 10 candidates that we wanted to move forward with. So person 3,999, I had to reject them because by the time we got to the end of the pipeline, we'd already made our hire, right? So I think timing too is important. And I think the sheer level of just number of qualified applicants that we're getting, and applicants in general, has skyrocketed. It's pretty intense. It's definitely.
Yeah, this is also one of those reasons why you have to do the networking. You have to reach out to hiring managers, not the recruiters, because they are way too busy looking at 2,000 resumes from a day. I'm talking about that production director who is going, how can we close this? It's only been a day and I haven't seen any resumes yet.
Yeah.
This is where that whole Sith analogy comes in, you know.
Absolutely.
The master and the apprentice, the master's looking for one, whereas the recruiter is dealing with thousands. So your chances of getting into that interview, just 10 out of 2,000, think about those numbers. But if you find ways to actually get in touch with key decision makers at the company, you can even get resurrected if the actual recruiter cut you already. Yeah.
So that's actually my story at Naughty Dog. So that exactly same situation happened to me. I had been rejected initially at Naughty Dog. It was wild to me. I was like, I'm definitely qualified. I'm in interview loops with other high profile AAA studios. What is going on? And then I reached out to somebody on the team and I said, hey, like, what happened here? And they said, we have no idea. We don't know how you got rejected. And then same thing, that hiring manager went back and they came back. And then because I'd been rejected and I already had offers by the time we started the process at Naughty Dog, they had to expedite my close because I'm like, I have 3 offers now. What do we do? So definitely, they have the power, hiring managers. And I've had hiring managers come to me and say, hey, you know, I kind of sort of thought about this person and then now I don't see the pipeline, but I really want to talk to them. And I've brought them, like you said, resurrected them out of the pile. They become the Darth Vader, right? They had their arms and legs chopped off and now here they are waltzing through the Death Star to the job. And I'm like, there they go. Good luck in your role. So absolutely. Do you have any kind of, I know we kind of want to do a little bit of Q&A. Do you have any final tips and tricks for people who are navigating this pretty saturated market?
So let's talk a moment about cover letters. So I know half the time, the way the application system works, you cannot upload your cover letter as a separate document. You should still be sending a cover letter anyways. Either make it the first page of your resume, or especially if the HR department is asking for cover letters or they say cover letter optional, it is never optional because they are not going to rank somebody higher who only did the bare minimum versus somebody who took the time and wrote them a cover letter. That makes sense because here, I'll give you a big secret. Your resume and your cover letter is not about you. It is about the company and their needs. So even when you're talking about your experience and what you're bringing to the table and to your passions, it's about how do you fit their needs. They don't give a flying Wampa that you spent so many years playing games and you love it, right? Who cares? Everybody did, right? What they care about is how you've done character development on your side, or you even in like D&D, you did character development, whatever. Find a way to show that your experience meets their needs. Don't talk about what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So John, I think that's a great kind of place to lead into. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the fun that's coming up next?
I always want to talk about the fun that's coming up next. Here's the thing. We have more questions than we could probably answer in another hour session. So what I'm seeing is definitely a cause for this empire to strike back and potentially have another one of these calls with even more Star Wars puns. But we are about to have a giveaway brought to you by Donna. Here's the thing. I'm going to say how to participate, and then I'll pass it to Donna to tell you what you can win. While we do our Q&A, which will run for about the next, say, 15 minutes, the last thing we're going to do in the call is we are going to spin the wheel and give away 2 things. If you would like to be in the drawing for what Donna's about to describe, please simply say, Merry Sithmas, in the chat. Mary Sithmas and your name will be on the wheel that we will spin to win. So with that, Donna, what are we spinning for? What can we win?
So one of our signature programs at the Personal Touch Career Services is called the Down and Dirty Job Search. And we have converted this into an online class. So it is 6 hours of job searching advice, absolutely what you can do in your job search, from like setting your goals to how do you find managers, networking, all the rest of these things, right? So we're going to give away 2 of the online access to our course. And then for everyone else, we'll do a discount. So it's like, I'll put this like in my own LinkedIn feed. So if you use the quote Mary Sithmas, and I'll have a quote link to our actual place where you can purchase the Down and Dirty Job Search course, and it will give you 20% off on that. Amazing. And it's even better than that. It's not just one course, it's all 3 of my courses. So the Down and Dirty Job Search, LinkedIn Secrets for Job Seekers, and how to ace the interview without going crazy.
And I will tell you all, like, I was in like early, like, I feel like I went through this program again, pilot early, and like, I don't want to like, I don't know, brag too much, but like legitimately, I was so lost in my job search. I didn't know what to do. I'm pretty sure I was crying on our phone call. Like, probably. I remember being so devastated, and I had nowhere to go, and nothing I was doing was working. It's because I had no idea what to do. And through the connection that I have with Donna and through the program, like, I literally became like who I am today. Like, it has set me on a trajectory. So even if you don't win your giveaway now, it is definitely something that will put you on the proper trajectory should you choose to use discount code. And I highly, highly, highly cannot recommend it enough. I actually wrote a big LinkedIn post on it about you. And Sony was like, hey, we can't promote someone else's company. You have to take your post down. And I was like, okay, but legit though, the truth is Donna is the reason that I am who I am. So, okay, well,
thanks for trying.
Now that I'm unemployed, I can post about it and brag about you as much as I want. So, and honestly, a lot of those techniques that Donna is mentioning, like, there's still things I'm using in my current job search, and I'm talking with a dozen different companies, which is unheard of, right, in today's games market. So, 10 out of 10, 10,000%, cannot recommend. Join us, join the dark side, join us. Okay, let's do some Q&A. What do we got?
One quick note as we go, a few folks are coming through as, and this is like a privacy setting. If you have a certain privacy setting on, I can't see your name to add you to the wheel, and you just show up as this right LinkedIn here. User. LinkedIn user. Congratulations for using LinkedIn. Very exciting. Don't know your name. So if you showed up as that in the comments, which you can probably see over on the right, please just add your name. Just say your name afterwards, and I'll add you to the wheel.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I saw a comment come through about personal branding. I thought that was a pretty good one. I don't know where that comment went. But like, I guess the question was, how does personal branding play into your job search or something to that effect? Donna, do you want to touch on that?
Sure. So personal branding overall, I mean, that was a real hot button topic, 2008, 2010. That's when that stuff was invented. But what personal branding really is think about what is your brand promise to a company? What is the one thing they can count on you without fail, or 2 or 3? And then you're wanting to use that language consistently in all of your materials. Your LinkedIn headline, it goes into different spots within your about section, the way you describe your work history, definitely your cover letter and your resume. All of those things build into your personal brand. And even the way the resume looks on the page, right? Because there are standards within different industries. Like if I was making a resume for a lawyer, I'm not going to put a whole lot of crazy colors and stuff like that on there as I might for somebody in a more creative field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And 2, as you look at thinking about like your personal brand on LinkedIn, I think Donna's right, making sure that it's transcendent. I think a lot of people, one of the things that happened at GDC most recently is I had 2 different people come up to me and say, oh my gosh, now that I've met you, I can hear your LinkedIn posts in your voice and they sound just like you. And I'm like, yes, right? Because that is my personal brand. My personal brand very much is punk rock princess, and that transcends through every communication I have. You can expect the same general topics to pop up. So definitely making sure that whatever your core values are, whatever your brand promise is, let it seep through in every aspect of your job search, your LinkedIn presence, and really own it. I tell people, like, own it, work it, live it, love it. And that should be how you pursue your personal brand. So great question there. Great question there.
Okay, what other questions have we got? There's so many comments coming so fast.
I know. I'm trying to scroll through and see which comment, which questions.
You know what's great too, just to say this for everybody who's in the audience, since we're probably going to address 5% of the questions today. Every comment that you make right here lives on in perpetuity as a comment later on this thread. So you can come back, talk to one another, respond to comments, and that way it continues to live. And that's one of my favorite things about these lives, is it allows us to not just have this one blink of a moment. This is just the beginning of an ongoing narrative. So please feel free to throw comments in there, and all three of us at various points can come in, and even everybody on the call can jump in as well.
Absolutely. There's one question from Robin that says, how would you word an email asking to be reconsidered after rejection?
So, number one, you don't send that to a hiring manager. You don't let the cat out of the bag that you were already rejected, because that kind of throws HR under the bus. That is a fresh communication that doesn't have the stink of the dark side on it. Instead, you always wanted to be positive. Here's what I bring to the team. I'm excited to learn more about you. If you're trying to ask for reconsideration from the recruiter or the HR department, it's probably not going to work, because they don't have time out of thousands of resumes to go back.
I think that goes back to, similarly, people ask about, can I ask for feedback, or how do I ask for feedback? A lot of times it's a liability. We typically, in the recruiting space, we sometimes, depending on company policy, we can't provide feedback. Either we don't have time, we are not allowed to, because again, there's some liability issue there. Feedback is something that's really, really difficult. And I know that it sucks, because you're putting in hours of your time, whether that's through a test, if you're doing an art test or a writing test, or you're providing samples, or whether or not you're not testing and you're still spending time to put in your application. With 2,000 applications for a single role, I can't provide individualized feedback, just timing wise, right, on why you may have been rejected. The analogy I use a lot is, right item, wrong flavor. So I say things like, Christina, my personal brand is this right here, Baja Blast Soda. I am a Baja Blast Soda. I always will be a Baja Blast Soda. When my hiring manager comes to me and says, hey, I really want a soda, I'm like, great, I'm a Baja Blast, let's go. They say, ooh, I'm looking for dark soda. No matter what I do, Christina, will never be a Coke or a Cherry Coke or a Dr. Pepper or a carbonated lemonade, kombucha. Like, I will never be a dark soda. I will always be a Baja Blast. And so in the future, when that hiring manager says, hey, I want a Mountain Dew, then I'm in the running, right? Then I've got that. I could be the right flavor. So just know, when you do get that rejection, it's not always personal. A lot of times they're looking for something very, very specific, a very specific flavor, and you might have all the right qualifications on paper, but one aspect of the flavor is off, right? So just be mindful of that too when it comes to feedback. It's typically not personal. It often has to do with just the sheer number of beverages on the market. Okay, so another question that's come through here. Let's see here. The benefits of LinkedIn Premium, whether somebody should go premium or not.
So I do think it is valuable, but I also say try all the free tricks you can before you commit to paying for it. If you're able to do it to pay for the annual instead of the monthly, I mean, it does cut the price like half. So it's like $20 a month. And all you need is just the job seeker one. You don't need to move into like a recruiter light or a sales navigator or the business accounts. That's going to give you plenty of the functionality. And you're going to see things like insights onto job postings. So if you're like having that question, is it worth it to apply for this job? And it's day 3 and you see 2,000 applicants, you can have an idea. It's like, yep, throw your hat in the ring, but you're going to have to work double hard on getting in touch with those hiring managers, other networking points. There's all kinds of other benefits too, like the in-mails and stuff like that you get. So it does pay off.
Absolutely. people have advice for changing industries. So if you were fairly senior in a different industry and then you were moving into maybe games or another industry, yeah, what advice would you have for them?
So again, number one, remember your resume and your LinkedIn profile are not going to be about you. Has to be about their needs. So you need to use their language and how you describe what you do so they can see the value instead of trying to draw all the breadcrumbs. So, for example, this resume that I saw this morning was the first line of the resume was like creative art director with 15 years of experience in design and user experience. He was going for a sales job in medical device. Not related at all. I'm like, you just shot yourself in the foot in the very first sentence. And then he's telling me, he goes, well, I do sales all the time because I'm getting people to buy in on my ideas. I go, that is your opening line, not something completely unrelated. Because when somebody like Christina has 6 seconds to judge your resume and they see completely unrelated stuff, they're gone. They don't have enough time to read on to page 2 that talks about their sales experience from 20 years ago.
Yep. Absolutely. I think of the scene, the last scene in the Star Wars movie where the little kid like forces the broom, right? And he gets the broom. And I think like, you've got just this tiny window to show me that you have what it takes to join the force, right? Like, do you have force powers? Yes or no? And if you can't perform on the spot, yeah, like you're out, but if you can grab that broom, let's go. And that's true. Like so many times that candidate profile or that opening statement or that about me section, summary, some people call it, right? What used to be the objective statement. So if you're using objective statement, just know that's 15 years old now. Please have a candidate summary that tells me something about you. That is your number one opportunity to stand out, especially as the recruiter. Like that's the part where I want to see who you are as a person and what differentiates you from any other candidate. That candidate profile, right? Like that's the first chance you've got to catch my eye and keep me reading. So absolutely, the more you put in there that relates to the job. That fry cook is a prime example. I use this example a lot too. I have someone who transferred, they wanted to be an animator in games, a mentee of mine wanted to be an animator in games, couldn't get a job. And then they became a crime scene reconstructionist. And so now they're animating crime scenes for court cases. So they're animating like projectiles and car crashes. So they're having transferable skills. That is still incredibly relevant when they come back to games in a couple of years when the industry is a little bit more stable, right? So maintaining those transferable skills and being able to articulate that on your resume is going to be huge. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. John, there's a question for you in chat. There's a question specifically for you. Can I get these tips on a retro Star Wars poster?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? My good friend Midjourney might be able to help me with that one. That's for sure.
I love it. I love it.
What if we get the whole transcript and it's just scrolling up from down, like
ooh, I love that. I love that. I love that. David asks, what's the best software to use to, again, kind of check your resume? We talked about job scan. Is there anything else out there people can be using to help make sure that they are optimized for ATS?
Skill Syncer is another one. Yeah, those are kind of like the two main ones. There's also Teal HQ, which is a bigger program that actually will help you create custom resumes based on your LinkedIn profile, but it gets expensive really fast. And you have to have like just the most amazing LinkedIn profile to begin with. Because as we know, I don't know, do you still use this term in gaming? Garbage in, garbage out about coding? Yeah.
We hear that in AI conversations like every 30 seconds. All the time. And it's so true. So true.
Yeah.
So Donna, we have just a couple minutes left. Where can people find you?
Sure.
Yeah, what's next? Where can they find you? Because as much as all these resources are great, I think the best resource in the room right now legitimately is Donna. That's why I specifically was like, can we please have a meeting with just us? Because I think Donna is the number one resource in this room. So Donna, where can people find you and your services?
Sure. So my company name, once again, it's super long, so hang in here with me. It's Personal Touch Career Services. Of course, that website, personaltouchcareerservices.com. Imagine that, or you can Google it. And the other thing with this too is we do offer a free 30-minute consultation just to like kind of talk about your job search. And we do a resume review and things like that. Only one per every 12-month period. It is restricted to people in the United States and Canada, just saying, because I know we got people from all over the world clicking in. But definitely you can find us there. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm all over the place. I am the original Donna Shannon. So I've been there so long, I don't have to share my name with anybody. And then on a weird side of things, I do stand-up comedy on the side. So you can find me on Linktree as well if you want to see any of that weirdness. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
John,
Cool.
I'm going to put your LinkedIn right up here, and
Perfect.
everybody can continue to scan that for the rest of the call and for eternity, since this is recorded.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Well, John, we have about 5 minutes left. Do we want to pick some winners?
Is it time?
Spin the wheel?
I think it's time. Let's just check.
I worry that if I keep answering questions, we'll be here all night. So, and I don't mind it, but my family might.
Yeah, they're like, hey, how about humans? Okay, I think we're ready to go. I believe I caught everybody's names. So we're gonna go ahead and turn off chat and turn on the Grogu. Hold on now. Let's give him the space that he deserves. Okay, here we go. We're gonna spin twice, right, Donna?
Yes. Yep.
Let's see who we get first.
I'm excited.
Survey says, "Ew, Fitzgerald Lewis, our first winner."
Nice.
And
congrats, Fitzgerald Lewis.
Congratulations, Fitzgerald. You just won the best thing that's ever going to happen. And oh, Wendy, frequent viewer.
Wendy! Awesome. Amazing. That's so exciting for you both. And then, yeah, like Donna said, anyone who is interested, Donna will have a link on their profile too for 20% off of their services as well for the classes.
The online courses,
not services, the online courses. Yep. And then, yeah, you can book your 30-minute sessions with Donna. Again, highly recommend, cannot brag enough. Decades later, and I still am totally impressed by the personal touch that I received through her career services many years ago. So
I can't believe that we have 2 Fitzgerald Lewises.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's so funny.
Know what?
Very
I'll be
funny.
nice, since we got 2 people of the same name. I'll give it to them both.
Oh, thank you.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So both
you can follow up with me, send me a message on LinkedIn and go, hey, I'm one of the Fitzgeralds, and I'll be sure to get you hooked up on my website, because I'll need your email and a little bit more information too.
That's amazing. Awesome. Well, Donna, thank you so much. John, thank you for hosting. Yes, Donna.
Yeah, Dia Klein is actually my apprentice, my Darth apprentice. So Dia is also my business development manager and one of my fellow coaches. She just threw into the chat our link for those actual consultations if you want to get scheduled. And so don't be surprised if you speak with Dia instead of me, but it's okay. She's the apprentice. It's cool. But she's a master in and of her own right. Yeah.
I love it. So final question before we go.
Vader's an apprentice, but he's still pretty awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. Final questions before we go. Donna, I know your answer is probably going to be, but I would ask, who is your favorite Star Wars character and what color is your lightsaber?
I actually identify a lot with Luke Skywalker. So, and that would be a green lightsaber, is the one he made for himself.
Yeah.
But I do have a lot of Sith tendencies, so I have to work real hard to make sure my chaotic evil stays chaotic neutral. So the lightsaber's still red.
I love it. John, favorite character and what color would your lightsaber be?
Oh man, it's hard not to go super basic on this, but Obi-Wan always has been, and you know, Ewan McGregor did not make that any less the case ever.
Sure.
Not just because I sometimes like to be a hermit in the middle of the desert for a few decades, but also because that blue lightsaber. No, I think his was green at one point, right? But then he wielded blue. But blue is mine. Certainly
Blue.
like a nice
Okay.
light blue.
Okay, okay. I do think my favorite character is Kylo, and
Nice.
my lightsaber is definitely purple. It should be Baja Blast blue, like, let's be real, but in the Star Wars canon, it's probably a purple lightsaber. Every test I take is like, purple, purple. You can't decide what you want to be. And I'm like, that's so true. So awesome. Well, again, thank you both so much, John. Thank you so much for hosting. As always, such a pleasure. And Donna, I am just so eternally grateful for your friendship and for your guidance, and for everything you do, not only for me, but for the communities that you serve.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all. Thank you for coming.